I belong to you. I belong to you. Do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
What's it into an area? Keo, Zamora!
And I'll always be around when I need some love and baby. No one else.
Yeah.
Let you down.
Hey guys, I'm Sai, and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Championship Show. This show is available on all social media formats. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope / Twitter at the moment. The Ace Podcast Nation, the home of many podcast series and shows, and lots of top guests coming up. So if you check out the various social media platforms in the description and at the end of the show, and you'll be able to find them all. And there is lots to find and lots coming up. Of course, Monday, 7:30, we've got the Andy Campbell Football Show this week with special guest, Mr. Barry Hales. Very much looking forward to that. And big shout out and thanks to Black Diamond Sport for all the support. Black Diamond Sport is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. And for more information, visit their LinkedIn page or their social media pages, which you can find again in the description and also at the end of the show. But a big shout out to them. And also, we welcome and we thank Darren Ralston for sponsoring this show and the Monday show. And we thank them for the support. And just here's a very, very quick little video clip about them.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so we wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Bespoke Financial, we thank them for sponsoring the show. And of course, to talk championship football with myself is 45 minutes of football talk with Cardiff City, former Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, Mr. Andy Campbell. How are you, sir?
Good evening, mate. Yeah, looking forward to this one. We've had a good week, loads to talk about, loads of games. The league's not getting any better or worse for some certain clubs. It's hotting up. 6 games left.
Yeah, mate, it's very interesting. I find it's even more difficult to predict after the break for COVID and lockdown and everything, because you just see some of the results. They are all.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I think playing behind closed doors is not making it any more plain and simple for his home an advantage, his away an advantage. It's just, I don't know what's happening at the minute. It's some very strange results, but I'm sure we'll unravel the mess, so to speak, in the next 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's like knowing where to start, really. But as always, we'll go with the any other business. And with this show, it is purely championship. It's away from the games. and we just pick some stories up. So first of all, we're going to follow up on basically one we picked from last week, really, mate, which is Jude Bellingham on the brink of moving to Dortmund. BBC Sport have reported. Obviously, we mentioned last week a big shout out to Jan Arga Fjortoft, who his connections in that part of the world are very good. He had reported it, and it looks like it's on the brink of happening.
Yeah, well, as I say, we came across the story. I think it was last Friday or Thursday, late Thursday, early Friday, and Jan always knows his stuff. He knows every link inside and outside German football. So you know what I mean. This would obviously be a huge move, and a move which sees a young player, another young English player, moving out to the Bundesliga, and if he's half as successful as Jadon Sancho, for example. He's got an opportunity because he's very talented. Listen, if he does go through and he does go there, I think he'll be a success, and it'll only help British football. I don't see it as a bad move.
Yeah, and I think, let's be honest, if, let's say, worst case scenario, he was to go out there and have an absolute nightmare, barely play, worst case scenario is he'd have to come back to a championship side, because someone would take a risk on him. Even if he goes out there and plays 2 games in 3 years, he'd still only be 19, 20. And, someone would take a risk on him. Someone would have a go.
Listen, Si, it's around about a 17-year-old boy now. Just turned 17, yeah, I think, a week or 2 ago. And he's still a baby in terms of football. He's played so many games at the age he is. He's had a really, really successful season in a good upcoming side. I think it'll be a big loss for Birmingham City. I think to fill the gap what he leaves will be massive for them, because unless they have another hidden gem, so to speak. But yeah, personally, you've got to look at it from the boy's point of view and his progression. And I wouldn't have been a big advocate of him moving to the Premier League and not playing and being sitting on the bench. Whereas in Germany, I do believe he's got a better chance to play and progress on with that technical side of football. And I think it'll suit him down the ground the way that he plays.
Yeah, I think the interesting one with that, whilst I thought Man United would have been a good move for him, if you look at Daniel James started like a house on fire. No one expected him to play too many games this year. Started like a house on fire. He's gone off the boil a little bit, and he's getting a lot of criticism from United fans because he did so well to start with. And I think it's probably knocked his confidence a little bit, whereas Daniel James is like 19, 20. If you take Jude Bellingham out, and then he started off like a house on fire and then goes off the boil because he's a kid, I think there's less pressure on him to a certain degree by going to Germany, which is odd because they're still playing Champions League football, probably still going to be competing for a title. Yeah,
I think you've got to look at it also. He'll probably look at the model of Daniel James and go, has he played the amount of games that I want to play? You know what I mean? You look at the players in his position and he'll see Fernandes, he'll see Pogba potentially staying for another year. He'll see Matic, he'll see other players in there, and will he get enough game time? And that's key, because going to Man United one thing, but not playing. He's at a stage in his career where the next move for him is quite vital, really. You know what I mean? In terms of progression, in terms of improving, and for me, he's a fantastic young footballer with loads of potential, and I would love to see how he did on that big stage in that Champions League against an English side, and so he fared, really. So I think it's an opportunity for go to a different country, learn a different language and have a different lifestyle and see where it ends up.
Yeah, he's a very, very talented boy, I've got to say. He's like 17, it's unbelievable. But, this show, fast moving, so we're not going to stay on the same subject for too long. So we're going to move on to something which is interesting. And you've just literally, before we went on air, have given me a bit of a different outlook onto this. So I'm quite looking forward to speaking to it. But Wigan Athletic going into administration.
Yeah, well, it's a strange one timing wise, because obviously we've been in the middle of a COVID-19 where clubs haven't been able to get any income and things, and Wigan have came back and they've been on fire. They've won enough games. They've done really well, and then all of a sudden now they're going to administration, which has a 12-point deduction, or should have a 12-point deduction, which I do feel it's got to happen. Because it's the same for every other club who enters into it. But I just see it as sometimes it can be a business decision, a business call, that now they've got enough points and give themselves a fighting chance to stay up. It could be more tactical than anything. I might be wrong, But I do feel as though I look back and think, why didn't they do it during at the start of COVID, or especially the first week back, because things haven't improved financially. You know what I mean? Everyone knows, and things aren't going to improve. You know what I mean? The debts have always been there, or been there for the last 6 months. It's a mess, and it's always going to be a mess. And by the rumours, what I'm reading and hearing, there's enough people who might come in and save the club, which is great news, because I don't want Wigan Athletic, which is a very good club, by the way.
34 interested parties, apparently.
Yeah, I don't want to see them go to the wall like a berry. You know what I mean? They're too good. I played there quite a lot of times. You know what I mean? I've had really some good times there as a player, and it's always a nice football club. And so yeah, I hope they get themselves sorted. But it's a mess, and it doesn't sound or look good from an outsider looking in.
It does not. And what are they? 7 points clear of Stoke.
I think there might be 8.
Bottom,
I think there might be 8. So they'll go 4 points inside the relegation. So they'll be 4 points away from safety. That's listen.
When you
6
think,
games with 6 games to go. You know what I mean? That could have been a sit around the table. Look at the games left. You know what I mean? Because you're probably best off doing it at the start of the season, because it gives yourself a fighting chance with minus 12 than doing it right now. It just becomes a very strange time in doing it, unless you're happy to go down, which I don't believe they are, or they believe they can stay up with that deduction, which I do believe they can.
Yeah, and I think as well they'll probably have to sell some players in the summer. So we'll do the majority of the questions at the end. I just wanted to do that one because they was referring to something that you said last week. Leslie says last week or the week before, Andy said he didn't think Derby would make the top 6. Does he still feel that way now?
Did I say that?
I think you did, yeah.
Did I? I can't remember saying that.
I don't know if you said you didn't think they would, but I think you said that there was probably other teams who would get maybe more likely.
Okay.
And I think you did say, though, that they more than capable of making a late run as well. So.
Yeah, well, listen, they're a good side. Do I believe they'll get in the top 6? If I had to put my... if I have to give an honest answer, I'd say no, because I believe Brentford or West Brom will be in. Forest will be in. Fulham will be in. And then you've got one more. And at the minute, Cardiff are in. So, you know what I mean? It's about getting in there. It's not about... It's the chasing pack at the minute. You know what I mean? If the season finished today, they wouldn't be in it. So it's up to them to get in it. So it's a big ask. They're on fire, though.
Yeah, I think so. So we will go a bit further into this in detail, but it seems like the right time to just to hear someone else's point of view on that very subject. I'm joined by ex-Scotland Cardiff City defender, Mr. Kevin McNaughton. You all right, mate?
All good, mate. How's it going?
All good. So we're going to talk a bit of Championship. Do you think Cardiff will make the playoffs, and do you think they will get promoted?
I still think they're maybe missing a wee bit more quality. I know it's good having Tomlin back. If he gets himself fit, then he'll make a difference. But yeah, it'll be tough. It'll be a tough push for them to get promoted. So I'm I'm hoping more than really expecting, to be honest with you.
Do you think they make the playoffs and then maybe fail to get promotion?
Yeah, there'll still be a decent season if they get the playoffs. And you never know with the playoffs. Playoffs is obviously a bit of a lottery at times. So yeah,
it's about the form, isn't it?
Yeah.
And who do you think will go up automatic? Will maybe win the playoffs, and who's going down in the Championship?
I always fancy Brentford. Always fancy them. I know they've got a good win at the weekend, but even before that, I still think they've had, been chapping on the door a bit. So I fancy Brentford to go up. Relegation, Barnsley have seemed to pick up. It's a tough call with relegation. I think there's a few teams that seem to be finding form. If these next few games are obviously important, because I'll sort of assess if some teams don't hit the ground running, then they're going to find themselves in a bit of bother, really. So.
Mr. Kevin McNaughton there.
Sat on the fence there, though, didn't he? Sat on the fence there in the end.
Yeah.
I didn't, there's me getting stick for saying that certain... that, by the way. Naughty.
Yeah, he sat on the fence a little bit. But yeah, Mr. Kevin McNaughton, ex-Scotland Cardiff City defender. So for me, I kind of hinted at it during my chat there with Kev. I think that Cardiff will make the playoffs, but I think they might not make the final, or they may lose in the final. I don't think they're strong enough, and I think, or maybe not that they're not strong enough. I just think other teams are stronger. What do you think about Cardiff specifically, mate?
Listen, I think if they got in the playoffs, I think it would be an unbelievable achievement. And then Kev's just said it there about it being a lottery. I think Cardiff will become dangerous because there's no pressure on them to get promoted, and that's where teams become dangerous. The pressure is going to be on the team who finished third, and that'll be either Brentford, I believe, or Leeds or West Brom. You know what I mean? So I think that will become a bit of a lottery. But listen, the teams and the quality on show in the playoffs at the Championship is going to be unbelievable, because the games are always notoriously nervous because of the amount of money what's involved. But at the same time, it's going to be huge because the games seem to be a little bit better, a lot more goals, a lot more free football, and the good players are stepping up a little bit with no fans being there. So it's going to be exhilarating, I believe, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, it's going to be unbelievable, mate. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. Some quick fire questions, sort of. Who's going to win the league?
Leeds.
Who's going to finish second?
Oh, I've just been sick a little bit. Brentford.
Who will be in the playoff final?
I believe West Brom will play, obviously, the team in 6. So I'll go West Bromwich Albion against Nottingham Forest.
And who will win the final?
West Brom.
And who will be relegated?
Are we going on the fact that Wigan are going to be 12 points deducted?
Yeah, let's assume they're going to get
if they do
12 points.
If they go 12 points, I'm going to go Luton Town. I'm going to go Barnsley, even though they are on a good run, by the way. I'm going to go Wigan. I'm going to stick my neck out, and I'm going to go. They'll have to win 3 or 4. They'll have to win 3 games to stay up, and if they have a bad result of the weekend, then this could all blow up in their face. So I'm going to go Wigan as well.
So I'm going to go Luton, Stoke, and Hull. It's,
3 huge clubs, by the way, aren't they?
Yeah,
as well.
Because
Huge
I think
clubs.
Barnsley are just hitting form at the right time.
Yeah, they are. But they're due a bad run, I believe. But if it'll happen, I don't know.
Playoff final, I think, will be Cardiff City versus West Brom. Cardiff City on penalties.
See, we've got to be careful because I don't think that can happen, because it's the way that the fixtures go. It'll be 3rd against 6th, and then 3rd against 6th and 4th against 5th in the semi-final. So Cardiff would have to get above Forest or Fulham for that to happen. Which, listen, it's doable.
Because, okay, I'll change it then. I'll go
doable.
With. So what would it be? It would be Cardiff
against West Brom, for example, or Brentford.
Yeah. I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go Cardiff City versus Leeds in the playoff final. And I'm going to go West Brom and Brentford to finish top 2. I'm going to go for Brentford to win the league.
Listen, the way that they're playing and free scoring, and I've seen the next couple of fixtures, by the way, and obviously we'll go on about results and fixtures later on, but they've got some really, really winnable games, and other sides have got some really, really tough games. And it's going to be really, really interesting. You know what I mean? Listen, Derby could make the top 6. There's always a team who comes in late, but I believe Cardiff have left it late as well. So Cardiff are in there currently. You know what I mean? You've still got the likes of Blackburn, who, yes, they're on a bit of a bad run.
Haven't they, in the row?
But you still got Swansea. They've had a shocker since the Middlesbrough game. So listen, there's still you can't rule teams out, because there's just there's 6 points to play. You know, so it's 18 points. 18 points is a lot to if you get the 80, if Swansea win every game now for the rest of the season, they're in the playoffs. So you can't really ruin anyone out at the minute.
If you go with the teams, talking playoffs now, teams who have come into from the break in form, you've got Cardiff, taken 7 from 9. You've got Derby. Swansea haven't been very good. Blackburn lost 2 in a row. What have Millwall done? Not great.
Been hit and miss, haven't they? No, they haven't been great.
Bristol City, same. Bit all over the shop.
Charlton, if Charlton was still up there, they'd have a chance because they're probably the most informed side.
They're informed, aren't they?
Yeah.
Wigan as well.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And they've done it at the right time. So
right. What's Wigan on? 50. See, a couple of extra games and no administration, and Wigan would be in with a shout of a late run.
Agree.
But they'd run out of games now. All right, so let's have a look. Since our last show, mate, we've had a load of championship results. So we're just going to kind of go through these bit by bit and just going to give me like a sentence or something, pick something from each game to talk about. So the Friday night game was the Brentford-West Brom game.
I said I was excited to watch it, and I did mention Ollie Watkins. I know Ollie's name's been mentioned in the questions and in the group chat below. And listen, Ollie Watkins, when you've got someone like that firing your front line, you've got an opportunity, you've got a chance. So keep it going. You know what I mean? Because he's a breath of fresh air at the minute, and is a game changer.
Spot on, mate. Charlton 1, QPR 0.
Lee Boyer wrote him off. Obviously the Cardiff talk, and he's come back with a vengeance and come back even stronger. And the group of players, by the way, have got to give themselves a massive pat on the back with all these players who haven't played and aren't playing. The manager and the players who have stuck around are showing Lyle Taylor and the rest who haven't turned up, and they're showing them up a little bit. So good on him, fair play to them, and hopefully they can get safe, because Charlton didn't deserve what happened to them, really.
Yeah, and then Cardiff followed up their win over Leeds with a 3-1 victory over Preston, who's been their bogey team for so long.
Yeah, as I say, I watched the game. It was quite a dire first half, to be honest. It was quite quiet, and then second half it came alive. And I thought Cardiff going forward, once they brought a couple of changes on, Lee Tomlin in particular, I thought was electric. And Joe Rawls scored a very good header. Mendes Lang finish was excellent, composure and driving through the middle, pace and strength. Obviously, Preston got themselves back into it. But then Gratzel's third goal was superb again. So going forward, creating chances of scoring goals again. So it was a refreshing change, really, from a Cardiff City point of view. And on the back of the Leeds game, it showed real quality.
Spot on, mate. Sorry, my screen just scrolled down. Swansea 0, Luton 1.
Surprise result of the weekend. I didn't see it coming.
I did.
Yeah, you did. You called it. But I think if Swansea are going to fail this season, they're going to have to look back at results like this, because if you've got any aspirations about getting promoted or getting in the playoffs, you can't afford to drop 1 point, 2 points, 3 points against a side who was bottom of the league. And you know what I mean, it's given Luton a small glimmer of hope of staying up, which is good for them. But for me, they held on at times, but got a good winning goal.
Yeah, their defence, Swansea's defence since lockdown has been horrific. I don't know what they've been doing in the kind of pre-season, if you like, but it's not working. Barnsley 0, Millwall 0.
Yeah, well, I raved on all summer side, didn't I? Early shows about Barnsley keeping clean sheets. And ever since I mentioned about Barnsley keeping clean sheets, they've kept 2 on the belt. Oh, sorry, they've kept 3 on the bounce. So this is the third consistent since lockdown clean sheet for Barnsley. So, you know what I mean? If they can continue the way that they're playing defensively, they'll always create chances and score goals the way that they play. So they'll give themselves a fighting chance, even though I wrote them off just now and put them in relegation. You know what I mean? But I think the damage, if they do go down, will have been done about all the goals they shipped in earlier in the season, because they shipped a horrific amount. Where at the minute they're giving themselves an opportunity to stay up.
Yes, indeed. Derby County 2, Reading 1.
We spoke about Tom Lawrence on the show last weekend. He opened the scoring just before half-time. Very good performance again. And Wayne Rooney, what can you say? Yeah, the Wayne Rooney factor. Wayne's had a very good week with a couple of goals. And listen, when you've got somebody like him in the game to control games, to dictate composure in on the pitch and off the pitch, you've got a chance. Listen, he's world class and has been for all his career. So they've got a chance.
he's completely changed Derby's season.
Yeah.
You look where they were when he came in. We were on about potentially being in a relegation battle. That's how bad they were and how low down the league they were.
Yeah.
And suddenly we're on about him, making a late run for the playoffs.
Well, listen, the manager as well is giving himself an opportunity, because if he can get in the playoffs, he'll probably see it as a good season, because the players that lost, the transition from last year, from when Frank Lampard left, at the minute it's been a success.
Spot on, mate. Then we had 3-3 between Birmingham and Hull.
Yeah, funny game this one. Hull 2-0 up at half time, then just threw the game away with just silly goals at silly times, and then they took the lead themselves through Herbie Kane, who scored again yesterday. So he's had a good week. But then Gary Gardner came and equalised last kick, and I think you've got to look at moments in games, and giving away last minute goals like Middlesbrough did yesterday and Hull did at the weekend. Those little things can cost you. Fine margins, and hopefully it doesn't come back and bite teams on the backside, but you just never know.
Indeed. Leeds United 3, Fulham 0. What a result.
Yeah, performance of the weekend, as in attacking performance. They didn't give Fulham an opportunity and a foothold in the game, and they were when Leeds are on that kind of game and kind of performance, they've got a chance. And it's probably every time that Paddy Bamford scores, Leeds win. He just doesn't score enough. We've been quite critical of him on here, and rightly so, because he's missed some really big chances in really big games. But he scored quite early, relaxed him. I thought he had a very good game. He came off at half time, which is quite usual, or unusual that he come off that early, but usual that he comes off, because it's probably him or a other. Hernandez came on, Alioski came on, and Alioski and Harrison scored, and they were unplayable. And even Scotty Parker at the end said how disappointed he was, but how good Leeds were. And sometimes you've got to hold your hands up.
Yeah. Sometimes teams are just better than you on the day, and I struggle to say it, but Leeds were exceptional on that day. Unfortunately, they can't seem to string these performances into a run of games at the moment.
No, they let themselves down against the lesser sides. That's the problem they've got.
Next up was the mighty Middlesbrough winning 2-0 away versus Stoke City.
Neil Warnock, that's all I need to say. He's got a reputation for winning his first game in charge, and didn't let the club down, didn't let himself down, didn't let the players down. Picked the right formation, I believe. Going forward, they were electric. And listen, he's given them an opportunity to stay up. Yes, they had a negative result through the week, but that result is massive, because it's a tough place to go, and Stoke have got some really good players on paper, but there's something massively wrong at that football club as well.
So here you go, mate. Right, here's a question for you. What did Neil Warnock do differently to Woodgate from the week before?
He put round pegs in round holes, and what I mean is he put right players in right positions, and didn't just fill a team up with the best players. He put the right people in the right areas. He played 2 centre forwards. He played Britt Sombolonga and he played Fletcher. Fletcher scored the first goal. I thought Britt was outstanding. Didn't get his reward with a goal. He played Patrick Roberts, who I thought was excellent as well. He was neat and tidy. He got in dangerous areas in between the lines, and he really hurt Stoke. They won the battles all over the pitch. They looked solid in defence. I thought Spence again was absolutely excellent. And they've given themselves an opportunity. That's all I can say. And if they do stay up, I'll refer back to the Stoke City game, because it was a huge result.
So here's the thing for me. That's exactly what he did when he came into Cardiff. When Cardiff was struggling, they needed something, and he came in and he took the team back to basics and played players in their strongest positions. Didn't pick the best players necessarily. He picked the best team overall, which, and that's what Warnock does, and he does it very, very well. Is what it is, I suppose. But Stoke, they just...
I really worry for them, and to be fair, this isn't just a one-off though, Si. It's been coming for years, and
Stoke have been like it all season, haven't they?
Yeah, listen, they go through managers. They got the players. The players have got to look at themselves. Take responsibility on the pitch, because manager can only do so much, and chairman can do very little. This time of their season, the chairman are watching the game, the manager's watching the game. They can't make wholesale changes. They can't go and bring in players, so they believe in and playing what they've got and think it's the best option. And at the minute, they're getting let down a little bit.
So just Leslie made a comment there. He says he can't understand why the Coates family, owners of Bet365 and the owners of Stoke, buy some world-class players, pay them big money, and Stoke would get back to the Premiership. The owners are loaded, which they are, of course. However, I think what you've got to ask yourself is how much money they've already spent.
Well, that's going to be my
can't
point
be
now.
never ending.
This is the thing. Their remit has got to be to buy the best possible side to get them out the Championship. They've got an England goalkeeper in goal and Jack Butland. They've got James Chester, who's played for Aston Villa and got promoted, Premier League defender. You've got Powell, who's played for Man United. You've got James McLean. You've got Clucas. You've got Campbell. Your substitutes on Saturday.
Mate,
you've got Lee Gregory. You've got Tom Ince. You've got Sam Vokes. How many more players and how much more money has a football club got to spend in order for have success? And those kind of players should not be where they are in the league.
Well, in my opinion, mate,
you'd
have to spend a boatload of money to get better players than that for a Championship team. And I'm talking massive money. Because
I totally agree.
I would say 85 to 90% of those players you just mentioned are on their best days or when they're in form, Premier League players.
Because they've all played in the Premier League side, or for the country. So, you know what I mean? For me, they're underachieving, massively underachieving. And a little bit of the point I'll mention for Leslie there is the chairman also, his hands are tied because, yes, he's making money, he's got money. But he's also got a business at the end of it, and his parachute money, which is ran out from the Premier League, you know what I mean? He's then at a crossroads of what to do with the football club because you can't keep pumping money into a football club and keep it failing. So, you know what I mean? It's a business decision.
The thing is, we talked when Nathan Jones was in charge, we talked about these players letting the manager down. But they get rid of the manager, as so often happens. But, at what point do these players have to say, right, it's our fault, we're not performing? Because they're just going through managers and coaches. Nothing's changing. They might have a little run here and there.
When I was a player and teams were underachieving and playing badly, the captain dragged us all together and a few home truths were said in a pub, in the changing room, and we all listened because you're all pushing in the same direction. Everyone's got to care, and if you don't care, that's when the problems start, and the cracks start to appear, and there's from an outsider looking in and what I'm watching and what I seen last Saturday. There's quite a few cracks in that football club.
Spot on, mate. Kelly says there, Joe Allen to Cardiff City. I would love that, I got to say. But I got a feeling that he might not because of...
It'd be a dream. It'd be a dream.
Swansea connections, I think. However, I believe I read somewhere that he fell out with the Swansea fans when he left for Liverpool. So maybe there's hope.
Watch this space.
Indeed. John, there you are. Johnny Wish just says, on paper, Stoke have one of the best teams in the league.
But listen, we've said this. When I saw the team on Saturday, I was a little bit nervous, a little bit worried. And then I started to watch them play a little bit. And then I was a little bit more confident because they just didn't look like the players that I knew of old. And, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying I hope to go down, but as long as Middlesbrough don't go down, basically.
I like it. Right, back to the one sentence reviews. Okay, where we got? Where do we get to? Stoke, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wigan Athletic 2, Blackburn Rovers 0. Blackburn, we've been tipping, and Wigan, who we tipped to go down, and Wigan are in form.
Yeah, so I'll probably apologise to Stewie Downing and say sorry, mate, because ever since we told you that we fancied you and backed you to get promoted, you've had a little bit of a shocker since lockdown. Yeah, unfortunately. And listen, Si, this was always going to happen to certain teams. That lockdowns had a negative effect on teams who had momentum, and it's happened to Blackburn. And I do really feel sorry for them because I thought, and on paper they've got a very good side, but paper wins absolutely nothing.
Indeed. As we go into the last 10 minutes of the show, we are going to whip through these. So we're going to, one sentence, got to keep it to one sentence, mate. That's the challenge. Okay. Bristol City 1, Sheffield Wednesday 2.
Not surprised with the same thing. Lockdowns affected Bristol City in a negative way. And Sheffield Wednesday have had some positive results as well since lockdown. They got a last-minute equaliser against Nottingham Forest the week before. So doing all right with Gary Monk. So let's see. Watch this space. But obviously Cardiff, I know, play Bristol City the weekend. So another huge game for both teams, not just for Cardiff, for both sides.
Spot on. Forest 3, Huddersfield 1.
I watched this game and disappointed with Huddersfield for long periods, but they should have had a penalty, which affected the game massively. But Forest were excellent going forward, and when you've got Lewis Grabbing as a centre forward, you've got a chance. For me, he's one of the best centre forwards in the league. Yeah, he's very good.
Mate.
Very good.
And then on the Tuesday, we had Millwall 1, Swansea 1.
Yeah, early game on the Tuesday. I'm not sure if a draw is just the worst result in the world for both sides. So it doesn't really affect it. I know Swansea were 1-0 down, so to come back is probably a decent result.
Yeah, and then you had Barnsley with another victory and another clean sheet, mate.
Yeah, another
what
clean sheet.
What did we say this in the preview show all those weeks ago?
Yeah. Well,
Barnsley.
It's key. You know what I mean? You're always going to score goals in this division. So if you can keep clean sheet. Middlesbrough got promoted on it under Aitor Karanka a few years ago. Neil Warnock got promoted under it with Nathan with Etheridge keeping all those clean sheets. You can keep clean sheets, you've got a chance to get promoted. It's that simple.
Spot on, mate. Couldn't agree more. Then we had the Cardiff City 0, Charlton 0. I want to have a little bit of a chat about this one because I thought he got his selection wrong. I got to be honest.
Well, a result for me which was just shocking, really. You know what I mean? I agree. You know what I mean? The personnel changed from the weekend, and I didn't really think it needed to. And I think the players who've affected the game in a positive way started, and that was a wrong call for me.
Yeah, they should have kept it the same. It was a bit of a blow, obviously, finding out that Uncle Albert was leaving. But he also hadn't played a great deal since lockdown's been lifted. So you can't use that as an excuse other than morale. But they should have got into this full of beans, full of a lot of confidence. And he just wasn't it at all. The players who had been performing well didn't really click. Like you said, Glatzel's done so well off the bench. Mendes Lang done so well off the bench. I understand giving them a chance, but they've proven to be making a big difference off the bench. And I just wonder whether that was the right game to change the starting lineup.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I'm all for freshening things up when they need to be.
I'd rather see Lee Tomlin start, mate. I got to be honest, to give him a bit of creativity, you know, from that side of it. Next, Reading 0, Brentford 3. Another whopping result for Brentford as they cruise towards the end of the season.
It's a massive statement of intent moving forward, and I've seen some of the fixtures coming up for Brentford as well. So there's opportunities for them to really grasp and get close to the Premier League, basically. You know what I mean? Forget who's ahead of them. Forget what's, you know what I mean? You can only win what you can, and if they do end up in the playoffs, they're going to go in the playoffs with so much confidence because they've won so many games, and it's the manner of them winning games.
Mm-hmm. Yes. QPR 1, Fulham 2.
Well, I know Fulham went 1-0 down quite early in the game, and then Harry Archer equalised, and then Christie scored the winner towards Fulham needed this massive result. QPR similar to Blackburn, that lockdown's done no favours, basically.
And then we have Wigan Athletic 3. Sorry, I missed out. Leeds United 1, Luton 1 first.
Yeah, frustrating. I watched big parts of the game, and Luton held their own for very long periods. They went 1-0 ahead, and then and the Leeds drew level, but they had enough chances to win 12 games, never mind one game. So Luton can see it as a huge point, and if they stay up by a point, then that will be a massive point into the season.
And then finally, we have Wigan Athletic 3, Stoke City 0.
Awful again from Stoke, but obviously Wigan got the result, and then obviously went in administration the next day. So if that was the plan, then
naughty.
Then let's have to see. But I think Stoke City, I think it's a way that it could save them, unless the points are rolled over for next season and they start on minus 12 or whatever next season.
Yeah, I saw. I think it was Kelly said in the comments that they maybe dropped or maybe deducted 15 points from the start of next season, which that is a killer. Can you imagine that? Like 15, like, I don't know, psychologically must be very difficult to get past that. But I think I'd rather have it at the start of the season than...
Well, if this could relegate them now or the start next season in the Championship with minus
knowing
15.
that
So
they've got to make up a lot of points. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
so
true.
it's probably a good decision, a good call.
Okay, so then we'll have our 2 up and 2 down for the week. Who have you got for your downs, please, mate?
I've got Swansea City, so I started with Swansea because I just thought the way that they played against Luton Town obviously didn't give me an opportunity to just to give himself a foothold in the Championship moving forward. You know, it was a poor result, but more of a poor performance.
So I had Swansea City's defence specifically since lockdown because I feel it's been terrible. But because you went for Swansea, I changed it. And I have actually gone for Neil Harris's team selection in the Charlton game, simply because I think he had done so well in those first 2 games that he created problems for himself by switching it up in the manner which he did. Now, if we were talking 3, 4, 5 games in, and then he had given those players off the bench a chance, that's a different story for me. But
Yeah.
we'd won, we'd look fresh, we'd look good, we'd won convincingly. There was no need to change it up at that point.
Yeah,
And
totally
in
agree.
my opinion, I think it cost us. And then your second down, mate, please.
I've gone for Tom Lawrence, and
Down? Ooh.
yeah, because he got sent off in the 94th minute, and the way that Derby are playing in the minute, the way he's playing, he got involved in a push and shove game after the final whistle, and just didn't need to do it. He's got himself now banned for the next game, and it's just that could have a massive effect on Derby County going forward, or him, because if Derby win next game, will he get back in? He probably will because he's a good enough player, but. You know what I mean? You've got to be selfish a little bit, and you know what I mean. If someone's pushing you because you've won the game, walk away and laugh. You know, so.
And Rye just reminded me that I missed out
No, I'm not bothered.
Hull Boro
I'm
game.
not, I'm not bothered. Not bothered. Well done,
No.
Hull.
Well done, Hull. There we go.
Well done, Hull.
Okay. Oh, there you go. And my down is so these were initially as of probably 3 days ago. This team was in my ups, and it's Wigan Athletic. They were in my ups because their form on the pitch has been superb.
That's outstanding.
Unfortunately, as we discussed earlier in the show, off the pitch, not so good. And I feel it is a little bit dishonest and a bit shady. But, maybe it's not, and it's just coincidence. But it does feel like you said at the start of the show, mate, they've waited until they've got a nice big cushion over the relegation zone, and then they've sort of said, right, we can't pay our debts. But there we go. And your ups, mate.
Wayne Rooney. You know what I mean? He just oozes class. He's like a fine wine. He seems to get better with age, and you know what I mean. He's had a really good week, not just individual game. He's he's a very, very, very accomplished individual, and he's bringing the best out of a group of players.
Not bad. So I've gone for Ollie Watkins, first and foremost. His
Didn't think of
all-round
him.
performances.
Didn't think of him.
He does everything for Brentford. For not just the goals he scores, he lifts everyone. He defends from the front. What a team player, what a striker. That's all I can't add much more to that.
Great shout, that.
Second one from you, mate.
Luton Town. You know what I mean? They've had a really good week. They got Swansea City away from home. And then they got Leeds United. You know, those 2 games at the start of the season or any time during the season, you're thinking 2 defeats. How many can we keep it down? So to get 4 points out of those 2 games is absolutely outrageous. So Luton Town, well done.
And I've gone for my second up as Robert Glatzel for his performance, particularly in those first 2 games since the lockdown. He was under pressure coming out of the lockdown. He hadn't really performed. He hadn't really scored many goals. And I think not just his work rate has him upped, and his overall performances have got better. His finishing has been exceptional.
Yeah.
Real good top draw finishing, and that's what he was brought in for. Okay, so we're going to finish off now. We're just going to do our predictions quickly, and then as we go into injury time, we'll answer a couple of questions before we finish off. So last week's predictions. Andy won 5-4. which makes it 1-0 to you, Andy, after the first week since lockdown. So we'll make a note of that.
Clean sheet so far. Clean sheet.
Clean sheet.
Like Barnsley.
Disgraceful. Right, okay. Next week's predictions. There's lots of these, so we're going to keep them brief. Friday tonight, Charlton versus Millwall.
Oh, home win.
And I'll go for... Yeah, I'm going to go Charlton too. Next up, we've got Derby and Forest, sorry.
Oh, great game. Great game. I'll go draw. Go draw.
Oof, a draw. And I'll go... I'm going to go Derby. Blackburn Leeds.
Oh, God. These games.
Hard work, mate.
Yeah, I'm going to go draw again.
Oof, 2 draws. I'm going to go Leeds. Don't like doing that. I did not like saying that.
No, you didn't.
Wigan versus Brentford. Sorry, mate. Brentford.
Brentford.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll tell you what. For the fun of the game, I'm going to go for a Wigan win for the upset. The form side, they're going to be under pressure, and so I'm going to go for the shock. Bristol City versus the mighty Cardiff City. You know
Cardiff.
who I'm going for.
Yeah,
So
Cardiff.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Did wonder whether you may go for the team in red.
No chance.
Fulham versus Birmingham.
Home win for me. Fulham will win that.
I'm going to go for a draw there. A draw. Huddersfield Town versus Preston.
Home win. They need to win. Huddersfield have to win to give them a chance. I'll go home win.
I'm going to go Preston because I just got a feeling that Huddersfield are going to get dragged back into it. And I tell you what, I think they'll be begging for Wigan to get points deducted this season after the way they've started since the lockdown.
Yeah.
Just to give themselves a bit of a cushion. Luton Town versus Reading.
Oh, I think Reading are on an awful run of form, so I'm going to go home win.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to go with them too. Stoke City versus Barnsley.
I'm going home win. I'm going against the grain. I'm going to go Barnsley. Going to let a goal in. At least one.
Well, I'll tell you what, mate. You're brave going for
I know I
Stoke,
am.
is all I say. Brave,
I know.
brave or stupid? Well,
Stupid.
I'm going to go for Barnsley. The Swansea City versus Sheffield Wednesday. You know who I'm going for?
Yeah, I'm going to go. Do you know what? I went to Swansea
Don't
last
do
week,
it.
so
Don't
I'm going
do
to
it.
go. I'm going to go Swansea. And if they lose, it's win-win, isn't it?
Yeah. Boro versus QPR.
Well, Middlesbrough. Neil Warnock's first home game, sort of.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Middlesbrough as well. West Brom versus Hull City.
West Brom. I think Hull got the result the other day, which they needed. I believe West Brom need to do the same this week.
Yeah, same for me. I think West Brom there, I'm afraid. I don't like to go for the same team too often, but
Yeah,
you know,
so sometimes you don't have a choice.
Forest Fulham,
Forest.
and I'm going to go Fulham. Brentford Charlton.
Home win for me. Brentford will win again.
Yeah, Brentford and Charlton, Luton and Barnsley.
Oh, what a game that is. Barnsley.
I'm going to go Luton. Reading versus Huddersfield.
Oh, go draw. I'll go draw. I don't think that'll be a very good game. It's like a bar fest.
And I'm going to go for Charlie Adam to score the winner. 95th minute, 1-0 Reading. Cardiff City versus Blackburn.
Home win.
And then we have
Need it.
Millwall Boro.
As long as Middlesbrough win Saturday, I'll take a draw. So I'll go a draw.
And I'll go with Millwall win. Oof. No, I won't. I'm going to go with Boro win. West Brom Derby. I'm going Derby.
Home win. Big games for the week.
Yeah, I'm going Derby, that one. Birmingham, Swansea.
Home win. You've had your lot of me.
And Bristol, Hull. What I love about this, by the way, mate, is if you look in the comments, everybody is also giving their predictions as well. Which I think is awesome. Because we'll have a little check of them.
Birmingham.
Bristol, Hull.
Oh, Bristol, sorry. Bristol City, yeah. I went, Bristol City will win against Hull.
And I'm going to go with Hull for that one. And then we'll have Wigan, QPR.
Wigan.
I used to have a friend, or a friend of a friend, called Wigan Dave.
I'm
going to go for Wigan.
I'll go for Dave.
Well. Shout out to Wigan Dave.
Wigan Dave.
Sheffield Wednesday versus Preston North End.
Home win. Sheffield Wednesday have still got a small glimmer if they can carry on the form, so home win.
So there's a crack in the door. I'm going Preston for that one. And to finish us off for the week, Leeds United versus Stoke City.
I'm
going to go for Stoke to end their terrible run of losing against Leeds. And you're going to go Leeds. And that's us. Okay. Just to finish us off, because we're into Fergie time now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to scroll right up to the top and see what questions we've got. Okay. So we got James Costley said, do you still think, he says, still think Swansea will make top 6? ?
No, I think they've absolutely blown it with the results they have, and if Swansea fans are honest with themselves, I think they'll know that, because teams are in form, and there's no teams coming out of it. For me, there's only one gap. There's only one gap to be filled, and there's too many teams at the minute who are ahead of them. Derby, Cardiff, even probably Blackburn at the minute. So it's a big ask.
Richie Thomas asked, do you think Neil Harris chose the wrong team selection, which we kind of covered, versus Charlton? Any views on why Will Vokes didn't start the game? 2 points dropped in his opinion.
He picked the wrong team, in my opinion. But listen, I've questioned sometimes Neil's team selection, and it's come back to bite me on the backside. So I ain't going to start now, because you've got to give me an opportunity and look at if someone had offered us 7 points out of 3 games, I'd have snapped their hands off. So you know what I mean. Out of the 3 games, let's look at the positive. And yes, it was a dire game, but we were probably due one after winning 2 away games. So let's see the positives.
Would Kiefer Moore be a good signing for Cardiff City? No.
The way that Neil plays, he's a big target man, but I don't know. Cardiff, what I've watched, especially away from home, the last couple of games, against Preston especially, they went with pace and that frightened people to death, and that's where the goals came from. If they can get Gratzel flying like he has been coming off the bench, then he'd be a real asset next season.
In my opinion, Kiefer Moore is not as good as Gratzel. And in my opinion, I think Welsh fans particularly are blinded by Kiefer Moore's form for Cardiff City in the Championship and League One. League One I'm not as familiar with, but in the Championship he has not scored very many goals. Not to say his play further out from the goal is not it's good, but in my opinion, I think Cardiff City should be looking at maybe someone a step above. And that's no disrespect to Kiefer. I'm a big fan of his work for Wales. He's been outstanding for Wales. And I just saw Martin just put a question in right at the end. Where did I see it? I'm sure I saw it. I'll look at my phone. Oh, he said, who do we think is going to go down?
I've already said, I know Wigan, Barnsley and Luton for me. Can't afford the Reds to slip through that net. Can't afford it.
Yeah, I think, who did I say? I said Luton, Stoke and
Hull.
Huddersfield or Hull?
Hull City.
Hull, yeah. Yeah, I think they be my 3. And Kelly makes a great point there. She says, when you have Bale and Ramsey placing the ball onto Kiefer Moore's head, how can you not look good?
Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? You know what I mean? That he's playing international football, and it must be. And I've asked this question on the show. I asked it to Cav. I asked it to other players, other international players about stepping back to your club after you've played with these kind of players must be difficult. And the transition, which Kiefer Moore, for example, you know what I mean, doesn't replicate the same form for club and country. So, you know what I mean, is that the quality of players he's playing with? Then there's only Kiefer can to answer those questions, really. You know, so it's always a difficult situation. But like, it was Kelly who just said that.
Yeah.
So like Kelly said there, it's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? You're playing world class players. You're gonna get world class service.
Spot on, mate. Okay, there we are. We're 10 minutes deep into injury time, but we will not break the hour mark for this show. I am determined. Thank you to everyone who's commented and watched. Monday evening, 7:30, the Andy Campbell Football Show with former Fulham striker, Mr. Barry Hales. Very much looking forward to having a chat with Barry. And of course, you can check out all the other shows on Ace Podcast Nation and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out the social media. Thanks very much to Black Diamond Sports for all the support and helping the show. As I said at the start of the show, they're a global sports agency representing sports stars all across the world. And you can check out their social media pages in the description. And of course, at the end of the show, you'll see it. And of course, real big shout out to our sponsors, Bespoke Financial. We thank them for sponsoring the show. And Andy, lastly, thank you to you, sir.
It's been a pleasure. Can't wait, and I can't wait for Monday. Just by looking up and seeing some of Barry's goals, it's just been it's going to be a cracking show. I can't wait to talk about some of those goals and some of those clubs that he's played for and some of the players that he's played with. It's going to be amazing.
Karl-Heinz Riedler he played with.
I know, I know.
It's crazy, mate.
Louis Beaumont, there's loads.
Chris Coleman.
There's a book full. Kit Simons, loads of them. Yeah, I've been through it myself.
Little whisper for you all. In the next couple of weeks, we have some unbelievable guests coming on the Andy Campbell Show and Ace Podcast Nation. So check it out. Look out on social media. Thank you all to everyone who's tuned in. Share, spread the word, and of course the audio version will be out probably in the morning, maybe a bit later, you never know. And we will see you Monday, 7:30 for a new show. Cheers, guys.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.